The 1980s were filled with sleeper cars, those unassuming rides that pack serious power under the hood. From fast sedans to quiet hatchbacks, these cars hit their true potential, leaving many drivers shocked when they hit the gas. In this mega episode, I am covering the 30 rarest sleeper cars of the 1980s. Number 30, the 1988 Ford Tempo GLS. Despite its humble appearance and reputation as a practical commuter, the Ford Tempo GLS of the late 80s managed to surprise enthusiasts and casual drivers alike. Introduced as a trim level aimed at injecting a touch of spirited driving into an otherwise mundane compact sedan, the Tempo GLS distinguished itself from the standard model through subtle performance enhancements and refined suspension tuning. Under its boxy hood sat a 2.3-liter inline-4 engine producing 100 horsepower, an unremarkable figure by modern standards, yet sufficient to provide lively acceleration for an economy-minded car of its day. This power plant was mated to either a 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic transmission, both of which worked effectively to deliver power to the front wheels. Beyond the raw numbers, the Tempo GLS stood out in its ability to offer a fun driving experience. While its body design was undeniably conservative, with square lines, simple headlights, and a no-frills interior, these attributes contributed to the car's sleeper status. Few onlookers expected a budget-oriented Ford compact to provide anything more than basic transportation. Yet, the GLS trim's slightly stiffer suspension, precise steering feel, and improved handling characteristics set it apart. Drivers could maneuver through city streets with ease, and on the highway, the Tempo GLS felt stable, making it a commendable choice for both daily commutes and spirited weekend drives. Perhaps most notably, the Tempo GLS showcased Ford's early efforts to create a compact car with just enough performance to spark driver enthusiasm without sacrificing the company's core mission of affordability and practicality. Today, this model remains a largely forgotten gem of the era, a prime example of how subtle design and engineering tweaks could elevate an otherwise ordinary sedan into a genuine sleeper. For those in the know, the Tempo GLS still represents a unique blend of thriftness and unexpected verve. Number 29, the 1986 Ford Escort GT. As an evolution of Ford's subcompact lineup, the Escort GT embodied a surprisingly spirited approach to personal transportation. Building upon the base model's economy-focused design, the GT variant came equipped with a 1.9-liter inline-4 engine capable of delivering around 108 horsepower, sizable enough to offer enjoyable performance in a lightweight platform. This output, combined with the trim's sportier suspension tuning and upgraded interior, gave the Escort GT genuine appeal for drivers seeking more excitement than the standard economy car provided. Externally, the Escort GT retained much of the subdued styling characteristics of compact hatchbacks during the 1980s. Its silhouette remained fairly conservative, sporting modest lines and a simple front fascia. However, subtle differences set it apart, including unique GT badging, slightly more aggressive alloy wheels, and an optional spoiler. Inside, enthusiasts found supportive seats, a more driver-centric instrument cluster, and minor trim upgrades, which collectively signaled the car's performance aspirations. A key factor in the Escort GT's sleeper persona was the discrepancy between its appearance and its actual driving dynamics. From the inside, it resembled a basic hatchback built for gas mileage. Behind the wheel, it offered a surprisingly lively experience. Handling proved notably sharp for the class, thanks to improved suspension components that helped reduce body roll and provide better feedback. These enhancements made twisty back roads genuinely enjoyable, demonstrating Ford's willingness to offer a low-cost car that delivered more than basic mobility. While overshadowed by better-known performance models of the 1980s, the Ford Escort GT still garners respect among enthusiasts who appreciate understated cars that punch above their weight. Its balance of practicality, reliability, and modest power neatly encapsulates the essence of a sleeper, a vehicle that conceals legitimate performance credentials behind a modest facade. Number 28, it's the 81 AMC Eagle SX4. This car holds a peculiar position in automotive history, blending the practicality of a four-wheel drive system with the compact dimensions of a hatchback. Introduced when American Motors Corporation sought to differentiate itself through innovative designs, this model was among the first to prove that off-road capability could be merged with everyday drivability in a small car format. Powered by a 4.2-liter inline-six engine generating around 112 horsepower, the Eagle SX4 might not seem mighty by today's benchmarks, but in the early 80s, its torque-rich engine and advanced four-wheel drive gave it impressive versatility. Visually, the SX4 was unique. A lifted stance, protective body cladding, and rugged-looking wheels hinted at its off-road leanings. Yet its hatchback form remained small and unassuming enough that few would anticipate its capability on varied terrains. On paved roads, the Eagle SX4 delivered a comfortable ride, with a somewhat higher seating position that offered a commanding view of traffic. Off the beaten path, the four-wheel drive system allowed drivers to tackle dirt roads or slippery conditions with relative ease, making it a practical alternative to larger SUVs of the era. This dual-purpose approach helped the Eagle SX4 earn sleeper status, albeit in a slightly unconventional sense. Rather than focusing solely on straight-line speed, it excelled in providing unexpected all-terrain prowess in a segment dominated by front-wheel drive economy cars. While not a high-performance sports car, its robust build and solid mechanics could surprise those who dismissed it as just another odd AMC experiment. Today, the Eagle SX4 remains a testament to AMC's willingness to think outside the box, as well as an early precursor to modern crossovers. Its niche appeal and unique blend of hatchback convenience with four-wheel drive versatility ensures it retains its sleeper charm, both on the road and off. Number 27, the 1984 Dodge Omni GLH. Carroll Shelby's collaboration with Dodge in the 80s yielded several notable performance variants, and the Omni GLH, short for Goes Like Hell, was among the most celebrated. The Omni itself started life as a simple economy hatchback with minimal styling flourishes and an emphasis on affordability. However, once Shelby worked his magic, the result was a surprisingly swift and agile vehicle that caught many performance car owners off guard. Under the hood lay a turbocharged 2.2-liter inline-4 engine producing up to 146 horsepower, a robust figure for a lightweight subcompact of its time. Outwardly, the GLH did little to advertise its enhanced performance. Its angular, boxy exterior largely mirrored the standard Omni, with only subtle decals and minor body kit additions hinting at its potential. The small dimensions, tall greenhouse, and functional hatchback layout made it appear more aligned with grocery getter duties than thrilling drives. However, behind the wheel, one could immediately sense the significant difference. Sharper handling, a firm suspension setup, and potent turbo thrust combined to create a genuinely engaging driver experience. What cemented the GLH's sleeper reputation was its ability to outpace, or at least keep up with, vehicles sporting far more imposing resumes. While its modest frame and no-frills interior suggested mild performance at best, the turbo engine's torque surge facilitated brisk acceleration, and the compact body allowed nimble cornering. For enthusiasts seeking affordable thrills, the Omni GLH offered a compelling alternative to pricier sports cars. Today, the Dodge Omni GLH maintains a loyal following of collectors and performance aficionados who appreciate its significance in hot hatch history. By demonstrating that even a humble economy hatch could deliver serious punch, it set the stage for future small, turbocharged cars that would embrace the sleeper ethos. understated looks matched with unexpectedly robust performance. Number 26, the 1984 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z. Arriving as part of Dodge's push to infuse more excitement into its lineup, the Daytona Turbo Z operated under the radar while offering performance that exceeded many expectations. Based on Chrysler's G platform, the Daytona adopted a sleek hatchback shape that aimed to be sportier than the average Dodge product of the era. Still, it maintained a level of subtlety that often led to it being overlooked in favor of more conspicuous rivals. At its core, the Turbo Z featured a turbocharged 2.2-liter inline-4, generating 142 to 146 horsepower, lending it genuine punch. Stylistically, the Daytona hinted at performance through a wedge-shaped profile, pop-up headlights, and modest aerodynamic touches. Yet, these cues were restrained enough that, parked next to contemporary sports cars, it appeared more like a sporty commuter than a true performance machine. Inside, drivers benefited from a cockpit-oriented layout, bucket seats, and sporty instruments. While the interior materials reflected typical mid-1980s domestic standards, the space was still comfortable and well-suited for spirited driving. On the road, the Turbo Z displayed a willingness to engage. Turbo Boost arrived with vigor, offering swift acceleration for those brave enough to exploit it. And the chassis, while not as refined as certain European or Japanese competitors, provided respectable handling characteristics when pushed through corners. Given the vehicle's lightweight construction, the available power felt potent, surprising many who assumed the Daytona was merely a cosmetic exercise. Its sleeper status was bolstered by its under-the-radar reputation. People seldom expected a Dodge hatchback to challenge them at stoplights or carve through winding roads. Moreover, it proved relatively affordable, cementing its place as a budget performance option that flew beneath the mainstream radar. To this day, the Daytona's Turbo Z remains an intriguing piece of Dodge's performance puzzle, and a testament to how turbocharging can transform unassuming cars into genuine sleepers. Number 25, the 1985 Chrysler Leberon GTS Turbo. Its nameplate typically conjures images of comfortable, somewhat luxurious sedans and coupes. However, during the mid to late 80s, Chrysler introduced a turbocharged variant, the Leberon GTS Turbo, that disrupted this perception. Sharing platform similarities with other K-car derivatives, the Leberon GTS sported a boxy utilitarian body far removed from the sleek lines usually associated with performance vehicles. Underneath this conservative exterior lay a turbocharged 2.2-liter engine capable of around 146 horsepower, a figure that imparted surprisingly swift acceleration when paired with the car's moderate weight. Visually, the GTS version did not deviate drastically from the standard Leberon's design language. It offered 4 doors, a practical trunk space, and restrained styling cues. A closer look, however, might reveal subtle different badging and minor aerodynamic enhancements, hinting at its turbocharged heart. Inside, drivers enjoyed a spacious cabin, typical of most Chrysler sedans of the period, along with a dashboard featuring driver-focused gauges that help keep track of the turbo's boost. Behind the wheel, the Leberon GTS Turbo felt more agile than its unassuming shape suggested, with the turbo spooling eagerly to deliver power in a linear fashion. Though the suspension was calibrated more for comfort than all-out corner carving, it struck a suitable balance that allowed for composed handling under spirited driving. For long highway journeys, the car maintained a refined ride, showcasing Chrysler's comfortable sedan roots. This juxtaposition of mild outward appearance and lively performance earned the Leberon GTS Turbo its sleeper status. At a glance, it seemed like just another American sedan from the 80s. In reality, it was part of Chrysler's broader push toward turbocharging, a move that injected genuine excitement into vehicles often dismissed as mere family transports. Today, it remains a noteworthy example of how the right powertrain can transform a reserve sedan into a legitimate stealth performance option. Number 24, the 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger. Carrying forward the fruitful collaboration between Carroll Shelby and Chrysler, the Dodge Shelby Charger added a sportier dimension to the compact Charger model. Derived from the front-wheel drive Omni platform, the Charger had little in common with the iconic V8-powered muscle car of the 1960s. However, once Shelby's tuning expertise entered the picture, this otherwise modest coupe evolved into a contender in the emerging sporty compact segment. It boasted a Shelby-tuned turbocharged 2.2-liter inline-4, pushing up to 146 horsepower, delivering a punch that belied its unpretentious proportions. Aesthetically, the Shelby Charger introduced modest enhancements over the standard version, such as unique front and rear spoilers, side stripes, and Shelby badging. While these touches lended a mildly aggressive stance, it still lacked the overt flash of traditional muscle cars or imported sports coupes of the same period. Onlookers would see a compact Dodge with slightly sportier styling, hardly a prime example for spirited track sessions. Yet, the real story emerged once the driver stepped on the accelerator. The turbo engine delivered a swift burst of acceleration for a lightweight coupe, catching many by surprise. Steering and suspension tuning were similarly upgraded, offering a sharper response than the base model. Though not as refined as contemporary Japanese sports coupes, the Shelby Charger possessed a raw charm that appealed to enthusiasts who craved a quick, affordable vehicle they could easily modify. This low-key approach suited the sleeper ethos perfectly. The Shelby Charger's roots in a mundane economy car platform allowed it to slip under the radar, while its turbocharged performance and Shelby pedigree provided impressive real-world performance. In many ways, it stands as a testament to the philosophy that raw power and intelligent tuning can transform even the humblest automotive foundation into something genuinely thrilling and unexpectedly quick. Number 23, the 1985 Dodge Lancer Turbo. At first glance, it appeared to be another standard American sedan, a spacious, boxy design intended to ferry families from A to B with minimal fuss. However, the turbo variant upended this notion, delivering performance that defied the car's unexciting exterior. Borrowing the dependable 2.2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine seen in other Chrysler products, the Lancer Turbo offered up to 146 horsepower, giving it a notable edge over the unremarkable base models. Outwardly, the Lancer Turbo's design changes were minimal, befitting the sleeper archetype. Its squared-off lines, upright grille, and unadorned body panels conveyed practicality more than performance. Badges indicating the presence of a turbocharged power plant were subtle, so only those well-versed in Chrysler's lineup would suspect any real performance capabilities lurking beneath the hood. Inside, the cabin remained relatively roomy and comfortable, underscoring the car's origins as a family sedan. At best, the turbo model received enhancements like sportier seats or unique trim pieces, but it still looked far from menacing. On the road, the difference became clear. Turbo boost arrived with enthusiasm, propelling the Lancer forward with unexpected vigor. Handling improvements such as a firmer suspension contributed to a more composed ride when cornering, although it remained more of a confident cruiser than a track weapon. In everyday driving, the Lancer Turbo excelled at blending economy car comfort with the occasional burst of speed. That balance earned it the sleeper tag. It is neither flamboyant nor outwardly performance-focused, yet it can embarrass unsuspecting rivals at stoplights or highway on-ramps. In the broader tapestry of the 1980s turbocharged Chrysler sedans, the Lancer Turbo exemplified how a seemingly ordinary family car could house a potent secret. Decades later, it remains an underrated piece of Dodge's turbo-era legacy. Number 22, the 1983 Plymouth Turismo TC3. Occupying a niche in the affordable sports hatch segment, the Plymouth Turismo TC3 built upon the economical Horizon Omni platform, but infused it with a distinctive flair. Like its Dodge counterparts, the Turismo benefited from Chrysler's growing fascination with turbocharging in the 1980s. The turbocharged 2.2-liter engine, producing up to 146 horsepower, elevated this modest hatchback into a nimble performer. Despite its unremarkable silhouette, a typical front-wheel drive hatch design with a simple hatch opening, the Turismo TC3 flew under the radar, making it an exemplar of sleeper ethos. Styling cues were modest: slightly sloping rear hatch, restrained front grille, and minimal side moldings ensure the Turismo did not draw much attention at first glance. Badges signifying the turbo setup were present but hardly flamboyant. Inside, the cabin was straightforward, reflecting the car's affordable positioning. Basic gauges, cloth seats, and functional materials define the interior, though enthusiasts might spot minor sport-themed details like a 3-spoke steering wheel or a tachometer. Once on the move, however, the Turismo's turbocharged engine delivered a spark of excitement. The relatively lightweight chassis helped the engine's torque make a notable impact, resulting in spirited acceleration. Although the suspension was not tuned for extreme track handling, it offered enough agility to please enthusiasts who explored twisty back roads. The front-wheel drive layout also delivered predictable driving dynamics, catering to a wide range of drivers. The Turismo TC3's role as a sleeper comes from its practical, somewhat bland exterior packaging, masking legitimate turbocharged punch. This factor resonated with budget-conscious drivers who desired a car that could handle daily commuting, yet also surprise more expensive rivals in spirited driving scenarios. In retrospect, the Turismo TC3 stands as a lesser-known but noteworthy participant in Plymouth's foray into the 1980s turbocharged performance realm. Number 21, the 1985 Plymouth Reliant K Turbo. The Plymouth Reliant K occupies a special place in automotive history as the car that, alongside its Dodge Aries K sibling, helped save Chrysler from financial disaster in the early 1980s. Conceived as utilitarian front-wheel drive family cars, the K cars became ubiquitous on American roads. However, their unassuming nature took on a different complexion with the introduction of a turbocharged variant. Producing up to 146 horsepower from the 2.2-liter turbo engine, the Reliant K Turbo was a shocking twist on what most considered a bland, boxy sedan or wagon. From the outside, the Reliant K Turbo appeared nearly identical to the standard models. Its squared-off edges, simple lighting fixtures, and unadorned panels did little to suggest performance prowess. Even the interior echoed the same straightforward ethos, with bench-like seating in some configurations and a no-nonsense dashboard layout. The single most notable difference might be the discreet turbo badging or a small hood bulge, still easy to miss for the untrained eye. On the road, the contrast between expectation and reality was dramatic. While the base K cars delivered adequate, if not sluggish, acceleration, the turbocharged engine injected a burst of energy that startled those used to the car's sleepy performance. The turbo spooled eagerly, enabling surprisingly strong passing power on the highway and zippy starts around town. Although the suspension remained oriented toward comfort, resulting in some body roll during spirited cornering, the overall driving experience was notably livelier than the unassuming exterior implied. As a result, the Reliant K Turbo exemplified the sleeper car concept, a truly ordinary design hiding an unexpected level of pep. Its significance lies not only in the performance surprise it offered, but also in showcasing Chrysler's willingness to experiment with turbocharging across multiple product lines. In the pantheon of 1980 sleepers, the Reliant K Turbo's blend of iconic dullness and hidden potential remains unforgettable. Number 20, the 1985 Dodge Aries K Turbo. Nearly a mirror image of the Plymouth Reliant, it shared the same storied legacy of revitalizing Chrysler during a difficult financial period. Like its Plymouth counterpart, the Aries K exemplified practicality, cost-effectiveness, and a design philosophy rooted in simplicity. However, with the advent of the turbo version, this mundane family sedan or wagon took on a far more intriguing persona. Powered by the same turbocharged 2.2-liter engine pushing out approximately 146 horsepower, the Aries K Turbo provided an unexpected dose of performance. Its exterior remained firmly in the realm of conservative automotive styling. The squared lines, modest grille, and basic silhouette left little to suggest any hidden sportiness. If anything, the Aries K looked like the prototypical grandparent car of the era. Inside, the accommodations were equally straightforward. A wide bench seat in some configurations, straightforward instrumentation, and comfortable but uninspired materials. One might only notice the turbocharging influence through minimal external and interior badging, easily overlooked if not pointed out. Behind the wheel, the transformation became evident. The turbo engine delivered a palpable rush of power, particularly once the boost kicked in, enabling the Aries K to keep pace with, or even surpass, many sportier-looking vehicles of its time. While the chassis setup was still oriented towards soft ride comfort, the power available under the hood elevated the driving experience. Passing maneuvers on highways became a breeze, and the car's overall character changed from sedate to unexpectedly lively. This disparity between bland exterior and turbocharged spirit earned the Aries K Turbo its sleeper status. Dodge demonstrated that a little forced induction could dramatically enhance what was otherwise a modest economy platform. Even decades later, the concept of a turbocharged K car resonates as a prime example of 1980s American automotive ingenuity and proof that looks can be deceiving. Number 19, it's the 1984 Chrysler Laser Turbo. When Chrysler unveiled the Laser, it presented the car as a futuristic, sporty alternative to the more understated entries in its lineup. Yet, compared to truly flashy sports cars of the period, the Laser's design remained relatively subdued. Clean lines, pop-up headlights, and subtle aerodynamics cues conveyed a mild sense of performance without overwhelming the observer. The turbo model, equipped with a turbocharged 2.2-liter engine producing up to 146 horsepower, ensured the Laser could back up its mildly sporty image with genuine capability. Externally, the Laser Turbo featured distinct badging and trim elements. But these details were not so conspicuous as to give away the car's potential outright. Inside, the digital dashboard added a futuristic flair, a nod to the era's fascination with electronic instrumentation. Sportsies provided decent bolstering, and the overall cockpit layout aimed to envelop the driver. Yet the cabin remained far from extravagant, reflecting Chrysler's goal of balancing sportiness with broader market appeal. On the road, the Laser Turbo's performance belied its streamlined but relatively unremarkable silhouette. The engine delivered robust acceleration once the turbo spooled, complementing the car's moderate weight. Handling benefited from suspension tweaks, providing sharper responses than a standard non-turbo Chrysler. Drivers could navigate tight corners or highway ramps with a sense of composure uncommon among Chrysler's more family-oriented models. Indeed, this level of performance, cloaked behind an exterior that was neither mundane nor striking, positioned the Laser Turbo as a legitimate sleeper. Many drivers dismissed it as just another 1980s wedge-shaped coupe, unaware of its punchy turbocharged engine. Ultimately, the Chrysler Laser Turbo stands as a product of its time, a fusion of emerging technologies, forced induction, and design experimentation that offered enthusiasts an accessible yet underappreciated way to experience real performance in a low-key package. 18 is the 1987 Dodge Shadow Turbo. Launched as a compact budget offering, the Dodge Shadow aimed to provide reliable, efficient transportation in a no-frills package. However, Chrysler's penchant for turbocharging did not spare this unassuming model. The Shadow Turbo introduced a turbocharged 2.2-liter engine cranking out roughly 146 horsepower, enough to transform the car from an economy roundabout into a spirited performer. By offering both hatchback and sedan body styles, Dodge catered to a wide market, ensuring the Shadow became a common sight on American roads. Visually, the Shadow's design language was conservative. A stubby hood, tall cabin, and short overhangs prioritized interior space and ease of maneuverability over style. The turbo variant did little to radically alter this aesthetic. Aside from small turbo badges and perhaps a unique set of wheels or trim pieces, the car remained largely undistinguishable from its humdrum siblings. This subtle approach set the stage for the Shadow Turbo's sleeper status. Few expected extraordinary performance from such a modest-looking automobile. Once in motion, the Shadow Turbo delivered a surprisingly enthusiastic drive. Turbo boost arrived within a force to liven up city driving, and merging onto highways became notably more confident. The suspension, while still oriented toward comfort, provided acceptable handling, though the Shadow was never intended to be a corner-carving machine. Still, the improvement over the base model's performance was significant, revealing Chrysler's formula for creating an accessible, turbocharged sleeper. This formula appealed to drivers who wanted an affordable car for everyday tasks that could also supply an extra burst of excitement when needed. Today, the Dodge Shadow Turbo stands as a reminder of how 1980s automakers frequently leveraged turbocharging to infuse otherwise utilitarian cars with respectable power. Its legacy underlies that appearances can be deceiving, especially when an inconspicuous design meets the right amount of forced induction. Number 17, the 1987 Plymouth Sundance Turbo. Nearly identical in conception to the Dodge Shadow, the Plymouth Sundance continued the brand's tradition of offering practical, cost-effective vehicles for everyday use. True to Chrysler's mission in the late 80s, a turbocharged edition soon arrived, infusing the Sundance with surprising vigor. Sporting the same turbocharged 2.2-liter inline-4 that generated about 146 horsepower, the Sundance Turbo maintained Plymouth's understated style while concealing a more energetic core. In terms of appearance, the Sundance mirrored the unassuming lines of its platform twin: short overhangs, a relatively tall greenhouse, and a straightforward front fascia. As with many other Mopar models from the era, the turbo variants displayed minimal external differentiators, a badge or two, possible rear spoiler, and slightly sportier wheels. Inside, the cabin remained comfortable yet utilitarian, with simple controls and materials chosen for durability and cost-effectiveness rather than luxurious touches. The driving experience provided a pleasant surprise for those expecting the typical docile nature of a compact Plymouth. Once on boost, the turbo engine delivered a burst of acceleration that belied the car's thrifty appearance. While the suspension geometry and chassis design were not aimed at true performance, they coped well with the added power, offering stable handling in everyday scenarios. This blend of practicality and unexpected speed allowed the Sundance Turbo to discreetly excel in real-world driving. For enthusiasts who desired stealth, the Sundance Turbo's sleeper credentials were beyond reproach. It was, at heart, a family-friendly hatchback or sedan with excellent fuel economy and modest styling. Yet, it could outpass many sportier cars of its time in a straight line. Decades later, the Sundance Turbo's legacy fits firmly within the pantheon of the 1980s turbos that proved even the most ordinary automobiles could become memorable performance bargains with the right forced induction approach. Number 16, the 83 Pontiac 6000 STE. General Motors aimed this car squarely at buyers seeking a balance of practicality, comfort, and a dash of sportiness. As a midsize sedan, the 6000 might have blended into the background of countless 1980s family cars, if not for the STE package, which introduced a performance-oriented edge and a V6 engine capable of producing up to 150 horsepower. Although this output might not seem staggering today, it was sufficient to transform the 6000 STE into a quietly capable performer within its segment. Externally, it exhibited a conservative, boxy design consistent with GM's mid-1980s aesthetic. Yet subtle cues, such as unique alloy wheels, a slightly lower stance, and discreet STE badging, suggested a departure from the standard family sedan formula. Inside, Pontiac took greater liberties, outfitting the cabin with bolstered seats, a driver-focused instrument cluster, and an advanced, for the time, digital dashboard in certain models. These interior details supported the idea that the 6000 STE was more than just an ordinary commuter. On the road, the STE excelled in providing a balanced driving experience. The suspension was tuned for more engaging handling than a base model, and the V6 engine delivered a respectable surge of power when called upon. Whether weaving through urban traffic or undertaking longer highway journeys, the 6000 STE managed to retain the all-around practicality of its platform while adding an enjoyable dose of agility. Within this sleeper car context, the 6000 STE flew beneath the radar. Its boxy, unremarkable exterior meant few took notice unless they were familiar with Pontiac's performance trim. However, once behind the wheel, drivers discovered a sedan that could keep pace with sportier cars of the era. This interplay of subtle design and unexpectedly lively performance cements the Pontiac 6000 STE's place as a noteworthy sleeper from the 1980s. Number 15 is the 1985 Oldsmobile Cala 442. The storied 442 badge harkens back to Oldsmobile's iconic muscle cars of the 1960s and 1970s. By the 1980s, however, the automotive landscape had changed dramatically, and Oldsmobile applied the Reverend moniker to a compact model, the Cala, resulting in a curious blend of heritage and modern constraints. With engine options that included a 2.5-liter inline-4 or a 3-liter V6 capable of generating up to 150 horsepower, the Cala 442 offered a modest performance bump over the standard variants. Visually, it displayed subtle cues referencing its muscle car ancestry. Body stripes, 442 badging, and lightweight alloy wheels helped distinguish it from a run-of-the-mill Cala. Yet, the overall form remained aligned with 1980s compact sedans and coupes. Angular lines, a short deck, and a relatively subdued grille treatment. Compared to its celebrated forebearers, it was far more understated, allowing it to slip under the radar of many performance car enthusiasts at first glance. Oldsmobile outfitted it with a slightly sportier interior. Supportive seats, additional gauges, and specific trim pieces set a tone that hinted at performance capability. While not luxurious by modern standards, it aimed to align with Oldsmobile's more upmarket reputation relative to other GM divisions. The driving experience benefited from enhanced suspension tuning and the presence of a manual transmission option, adding to the car's performance credentials. Though the Cala 442 never achieved the legendary status of the original 442 models, it served as an intriguing attempt to continue the performance legacy amid new realities like fuel economy regulations and shifting consumer tastes. Its sleeper appeal lay in combining an iconic badge with a compact, relatively mundane exterior. While some muscle car purists may have scoffed, those seeking discrete performance found the Cala 442 an intriguing, if underappreciated, option from Oldsmobile. Number 14 is the 1988 Chrysler New Yorker Turbo. The Chrysler New Yorker name usually evokes imagery of plush, stately sedans that prioritize comfort and elegance. Yet, in the late 1980s, Chrysler introduced a turbo variant that injected a dose of unexpected performance into this otherwise luxurious model. Powered by a turbocharged 2.2-liter four-cylinder delivering around 150 horsepower, the New Yorker Turbo delivered an intriguing blend of upscale refinement and surprisingly peppy acceleration. From an outward perspective, little suggested that this model diverged significantly from the standard New Yorker. The classic formal roofline, ornate grille, and tasteful chrome accents maintained the car's upmarket presence, drawing minimal attention to the forced induction power plant. Inside, passengers were treated to the plush seats, roomy cabin, and premium features that typified the New Yorker line. Leather upholstery, wood grain trim, and digital instrumentation underscored the car's luxury-oriented mission. Beneath this veneer of comfort lay the turbocharged engine, which provided stronger than expected performance, particularly in low to mid-range scenarios where the boost kicked in. Mated to an automatic transmission, the powertrain delivered smooth, confident acceleration, allowing the New Yorker Turbo to merge or pass with surprising ease. While the suspension remained oriented toward a cushion ride, it handled the extra power without feeling unsteady, making the car a pleasing highway cruiser. This discreet intermingling of luxury and turbo power conferred sleeper status on the New Yorker Turbo. Few would suspect that a sedan known for catering to more mature tastes could produce brisk performance on demand. Though overshadowed by sportier turbocharged Chrysler offerings of the era, the New Yorker Turbo stands as an interesting anomaly, a demonstration that even a traditionally conservative, comfort-first model could benefit from the wave of 1980s turbocharging, delivering an elegant but spirited drive that belied its stately exterior. Number 13, the 1984 Buick Century T-Type. Buick's T-Type designation harkened back to the era when the brand sought to shed its purely conservative image by injecting performance into several models. With the Century T-Type, Buick applied subtle enhancements to a middle-of-the-road family sedan, resulting in a vehicle that flew almost entirely under the radar. Depending on the year, power came from a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6, delivering up to 150 horsepower, enough to provide a noticeable performance edge while retaining the sedan's practical virtues. Design-wise, the Century's space was thoroughly conventional. A boxy profile with balanced proportions that underscored comfort and utility. Even the T-Type variant only sported minor visual distinctions, such as specific wheels, discrete badging, and possibly a slightly firmer stance. The interior followed Buick's hallmark approach of prioritizing passenger comfort with plush seating and a spacious cabin. The T-Type package might add a tachometer, spoiler seating materials, or different trim accents, but these modifications remain relatively understated. Once in motion, the turbocharged V6 imbued the Century T-Type with surprising grunt, particularly when passing on highways or accelerating from low speeds. Buick's engineering ensured power delivery was smooth, aligning with the brand's emphasis on refined motoring. Though the suspension was firmer than the standard models, the T-Type's handling still leaned toward comfort over track-ready sharpness. Nevertheless, the enhancements offered a more dynamic driving experience than one would expect from a typical mid-sized Buick of the era. This contrast between calm exterior and unexpectedly capable performance epitomizes the sleeper category. Most observers recognize the Century T-Type as yet another Buick sedan, missing the subtle cues that hinted at its turbocharged potential. In retrospect, it represents a noteworthy example of GM's strategy to interject performance across its model range in the 1980s, illustrating how a dignified family car could host an inconspicuous yet enjoyable turbo surprise under the hood. Number 12, the 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra GT. Among the stable of GM's A-body cars, the Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra stood as a stalwart of dependable family transportation. Not usually associated with performance, it found new life in the form of the Sierra GT, which suddenly shifted the model's focus. Equipped with a 3.8-liter V6 that could produce up to 150 horsepower in certain iterations, the Sierra GT offered a level of pep that would catch many by surprise, particularly given the car's staid exterior presentation. In typical Sierra fashion, the styling prioritized function over flair, a boxy shape, modest detailing, and upright proportions to maximize interior space. The GT designation introduced faintly more aggressive body cladding, unique alloy wheels, and possible rear spoilers, yet these elements were sufficiently subtle to avoid drawing much attention. Inside, one discovered an interior typical of 1980s Oldsmobile: comfortable seats, a straightforward dashboard, and plenty of head and legroom. Even the upgrades found in the GT variant, like a tachometer or slightly improved seat bolsters, remained understated. Despite these mild enhancements, the real transformation occurred once the accelerator pedal was pressed. The venerable 3.8-liter V6, already well regarded for its torque and reliability, imparted an energetic driving character when paired with a well-tuned automatic transmission. Highway merges and uphill climbs became far simpler tasks, and the car's ride, while still comfort-oriented, felt more controlled in spirited maneuvers. By merging conventional design with a robust engine, the Cutlass Sierra GT naturally aligned with the sleeper ethos. Observers rarely regarded it as anything more than a standard family sedan, yet it had the capabilities to outrun that assumption. In the broader narrative of 1980s domestic sedans, the Sierra GT stands out for its quiet confidence. It was neither flashy nor slow, a perfect recipe for a sleeper that confounded expectations on the open road. Number 11, the 1989 Chrysler Town & Country Turbo. Minivans often top the list of the most practical yet least exciting vehicles on the market. In 1989, however, Chrysler decided to challenge that perception by equipping the venerable Town & Country minivan with a turbocharged power plant. Powered by a 2.5-liter turbocharged inline-4 churning out around 150 horsepower, this Town & Country turned from a purely family-focused hauler into a surprisingly spirited people mover, all while retaining the abundant cargo space and seating that made minivans so popular. Visually, little set this turbocharged variant apart. The Town & Country of the era sported wood grain paneling along its sides, a hallmark of classic American family transports, and boxy proportions that maximized interior room. The differences lay in discreet badging and the occasional rear spoiler that hinted at an unusual performance edge. Inside, the minivan remained true to its mission: comfortable bench seats, expansive headroom, and plenty of storage options. Families could load up kids, groceries, or luggage without sacrificing space. Once in motion, however, the Town & Country Turbo revealed its unexpected capabilities. Acceleration off the line was surprisingly brisk for a minivan, and highway merges demanded less patience than one might anticipate. Though the suspension was still optimized for comfort, handling felt stable and composed, especially for a vehicle not typically associated with sportiness. The key differentiator was the turbocharged engine, delivering torque that made daily driving tasks far easier and more engaging. As a sleeper, the Town & Country Turbo exemplified an almost comedic contrast between outer persona and driving potential. No one expected a wood-paneled minivan to exhibit any pedigree of verve, yet it delivered a dose of turbocharged excitement few rivals could match. Even today, this rare variant stands as proof that performance can come from the most unlikely places, embodying the quintessential spirit of a sleeper automobile. Number 10, the 1986 Pontiac Grand Am SE. Though the Grand Am name evoked a mildly sporter image for Pontiac, many iterations of this compact model were more about affordability and style than raw performance. That equation changed somewhat with the SE trim offered in the late 1980s, which came equipped with engines ranging from a 140 horsepower 4-cylinder to a 3-liter V6, delivering up to 150 horsepower. This elevated power output, while not groundbreaking, significantly altered the car's driving dynamics. Externally, the Grand Am SE featured design elements that gave it a modern, if restrained, appearance for its time. Characterized by sharper angles and Pontiac's signature split grille, it looked fresh without screaming high performance. Aerodynamic aids and color-coordinated trim distinguished it somewhat from base models, but the differences were nuanced enough that it seldom stood out in a crowded parking lot. Inside, the Grand Am SE improved upon the standard interior by offering bolstered seats, a sporty steering wheel, and a full set of gauges, subtly reinforcing the car's upgraded ambitions. On the road, the SE package revealed its punch when the driver called upon the extra horsepower. Quick getaways and confident highway passing were hallmarks of this model, supported by a suspension tuned for better handling balance than Pontiac's lesser trims. Although it never approached the level of a dedicated sports car, the Grand Am SE provided a comfortable yet engaging experience that outperformed most shoppers' expectations. From a sleeper perspective, the Grand Am SE qualified because its performance advantages were often overshadowed by the brand's more iconic models like the Trans Am. Consequently, few recognized that a modestly styled compact could deliver a modest but genuine dose of fun. As a result, it stands as a practical but spirited choice from Pontiac's 1980s lineup, embodying the ethos of unheralded performance concealed by a largely ordinary exterior. Number 9. The 1987 Buick Lasaber T-Type. The Buick Lasaber nameplate invokes images of large, comfortable sedans favored for their smooth ride and commodious interiors. In the late 1980s, however, Buick subverted expectations with the Lasaber T-Type, incorporating a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 engine generating up to 165 horsepower. While still emphasizing comfort, this particular variant injected a measure of excitement into a segment not typically known for performance. Outwardly, the Lasaber T-Type retained the model's classic full-size sedan proportions, a lengthy body, spacious trunk, and a traditional 3-box silhouette. Subtle cues differentiated it from the standard Lasaber, including blacked-out trim, T-type badging, and unique alloy wheels. Yet, these changes were modest enough that most onlookers saw just another big Buick. Inside, leather seats, a sport steering wheel, and a driver-focused set of gauges aimed to create an environment more befitting a performance sedan, albeit one wrapped in old-school American luxury. In motion, the turbocharged engine delivered an unexpected surge of power, especially in mid-range acceleration where torque was most accessible. Despite its size, the Lasaber T-Type felt surprisingly nimble on the highway, granting drivers the ability to pass comfortably and smoothly. Buick also tuned the suspension to handle the extra power, though it remained oriented towards ride comfort. The result was a composed cruiser that maintained the brand's commitment to cushioned travel while still surprising drivers who expected a more sedate experience. This delicate balance between comfort and performance placed the Lasaber T-Type firmly in the sleeper category. Those who judged it solely by its large, plush interior were seldom prepared for the immediate power delivery of the turbo V6. Today, it endures as a reminder of Buick's experiments in performance during an era of corporate constraints, subtly illustrating that even a substantial conservative sedan could offer a taste of turbocharged excitement. Number 8. The 1983 Buick Skyhawk T-Type. Operating in the compact space for Buick, the Skyhawk was not a car that many associated with performance. Yet, the T-Type designation signaled something special beneath its humble exterior. Available with turbocharged 1.8 or 2-liter engines producing up to 165 horsepower, the Skyhawk T-Type defied assumptions that an entry-level Buick was destined to be lethargic. Although overshadowed by the brand's more famous turbo models like the Regal GNX, this small hatchback still demonstrated Buick's willingness to inject performance across its lineup. From the outside, the Skyhawk T-Type appeared as a typical 1980s compact hatchback: sloping roof, sport wheelbase, and minimalistic design cues. Badges and occasionally unique wheels provided the only real hint of a performance package. The interior followed suit. Functional, if unremarkable, with seating for 4 or 5 depending on configuration. Buick added minor enhancements such as sportier fabrics, a tachometer, and possibly better sound systems for T-Type variants. But none of these flourishes immediately revealed the car's full potential. That potential emerged once the turbo engine spooled up. Though it did not turn the Skyhawk into a tire-shredding beast, the power increase over the non-turbo models was sufficient to enliven the driving experience. Quick merges, nimble city maneuvers, and spirited backroad driving became achievable with a level of ease that took skeptics by surprise. The lightweight chassis only emphasized the turbo's punch, allowing the car to accelerate with more vigor than the modest dimensions and Buick badge would suggest. As a sleeper, the Skyhawk T-Type exemplified the idea that performance might lurk in the most unsuspecting places. Its discreet appearance allowed it to blend into the background, even as its turbocharged output offered a true performance advantage in daily driving. Although it never reached the legendary status of other turbo Buicks, the Skyhawk T-Type remains an intriguing footnote to the brand's 1980s performance experimentation. Number 7. The 1984 Pontiac Sunbird Turbo. Within Pontiac's portfolio of the 1980s, the Sunbird found a niche for those seeking compact and economical transportation. Few would have guessed this unassuming model might hide impressive potential, yet the turbo variant upended expectations. Offered with either a 1.8 or 2-liter turbocharged engine generating up to 165 horsepower, the Sunbird Turbo was more than just a frugal runabout. It could deliver surprisingly dynamic performance for a car of its size and segment. Visually, the Sunbird retained classic 1980s GM compact styling, a sloping nose, simple body lines, and a practical hatch or coupe design. The turbo models usually featured distinct badging, a rear spoiler, and in some cases, hood vents or minor aerodynamic tweaks. However, these additions were modest enough that the car did not scream high performance. Inside, the cabin was straightforward, with comfortable seating and a driver-focused dashboard. Pontiac did add some sporty touches, like upgraded gauge clusters and trim materials, in an attempt to align the interior more closely with the turbocharged power at hand. On the road, the turbo engine made all the difference. Acceleration was notably quicker than that of a standard Sunbird, especially when launching from a stop or overtaking on the highway. The extra power complemented the car's relatively low weight, creating an experience that felt more lively than the exterior suggested. While the suspension remained oriented toward general comfort, it was sufficiently competent to handle the added performance without feeling unwieldy. Ultimately, the Sunbird Turbo's sleeper status sprang from its ability to merge mundane looks with engaging driving dynamics. Many viewed it as merely another economical GM compact, yet beneath that veneer lay the capacity to surprise unsuspecting drivers at stoplights or twisting roads. By doing so, it not only expanded Pontiac's performance image, but also underscored the brand's willingness to embrace turbocharging in a variety of vehicle classes. Number 6. The 1986 Dodge Omni GLHS. An acronym for Goes Like Hell Some More, it represented the pinnacle of Carroll Shelby's involvement with the compact Omni. Limited to a run of just 500 units, the GLHS took the earlier GLH model's turbocharged performance and elevated it further. Under the hood remained the turbocharged 2.2-liter inline-4, but output jumped to a formidable 175 horsepower. In a lightweight front-wheel drive hatchback shell, this power translated into astonishing acceleration and agile handling that punched far above the car's modest appearance. Externally, the GLHS looked much like a standard boxy Dodge Omni, with only minor yet telling distinctions. A notable front air dam, subtle side skirts, and GLHS badging offered hints of its more aggressive intentions. The blacked-out trim and unique wheels lent a sporty flair, but to the untrained eyes, it still resembled countless other economy hatchbacks from the era. Inside, the theme continued: basic instrumentation, minimal luxury amenities, and a driver's seat that aimed to hold the occupant in place during spirited driving. Once on the road, however, all illusions of a simple econobox vanished. The turbo spooled swiftly, delivering robust torque that gave the GLHS surprising straight-line performance, rivaling or even surpassing some contemporary sports cars. The handling package, featuring upgraded springs, stiffer shocks, and larger sway bars, allowed the car to tackle corners with unremarkable composure. Shelby also provided better brakes, ensuring the GLHS could slow down as effectively as it accelerated. This unapologetic focus on performance, combined with the Omni's unassuming design, cemented the GLHS as one of the era's most revered sleepers. It was light, quick, and affordable, proving that genuine driving thrills did not require an exotic platform or flashy styling. Decades later, enthusiasts still celebrate the GLHS for epitomizing the notion that true performance can emerge from the most unexpected automotive foundations. Number 5. The 1985 Merkur XR4 Ti. One of Ford's attempts to bring its European engineering to the American market, the Merkur XR4 Ti was an import from Germany, carrying a subdued yet distinctive hatchback design. Ford aimed to introduce buyers to a Euro-inspired driving experience, equipping the XR4 Ti with a turbocharged 2.3-liter inline-4 that produced up to 175 horsepower. Despite its quickness and rear-wheel drive configuration, the XR4 Ti's unfamiliar styling and Merkur branding kept it from reaching mainstream recognition, thus placing it firmly in sleeper territory. Its exterior combines sleek lines with a somewhat quirky rear-end treatment featuring a biplane spoiler on certain models. While this detail seems sporty, the car's overall profile was subdued by American standards for performance vehicles of the time. The cabin prioritized driver engagement, offering bolstered seats, a purposefully arranged gauge cluster, and a cockpit-like feel. Despite these touches, the interior maintained an understated aesthetic with durable materials and a focus on ergonomics. Performance was where the XR4 Ti truly shone. Its turbocharged engine delivered a robust torque curve, enabling swift acceleration and rapid highway merging. The chassis, shared with the European Ford Sierra, favored balanced handling over the floaty ride common in many domestic sedans. Rear-wheel drive further differentiated it from most 1980s American compacts, allowing for a more engaging driving experience, especially in corners. Enthusiasts often praised its agility, though some criticized its less-than-refined ride quality and occasional reliability quirks. Though it never gained the widespread popularity Ford hoped for, partly due to limited brand recognition and partly because its European styling did not resonate with the American performance car audience. Nevertheless, those who recognized its merits discovered a well-rounded, turbocharged hatch that could out-handle and out-accelerate many larger, showier vehicles. In retrospect, the Merkur XR4 Ti stands as a fascinating example of a transatlantic sleeper that merged European design cues with unexpected stateside performance potential. Number 4, the 1987 Chrysler Conquest TSI. It offered potent turbocharged performance wrapped in relatively restrained styling, at least by the standards of 1980 sports coupes. Under its hood lay a 2.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder producing around 188 horsepower, giving the Conquest TSI a serious edge in acceleration and top speed. The car's rear-wheel drive layout and balanced chassis further added to its dynamic appeal, enabling it to hold its own against more celebrated performance models of the era. Despite sharing lineage with a Japanese sports coupe, the Conquest TSI's exterior design fits subtly into Chrysler's lineup. It featured a wedge-shaped profile, pop-up headlights, and flared wheel arches that hinted at performance without achieving the same level of notoriety as contemporary Japanese icons. The subdued badging and corporate branding often led enthusiasts to overlook the Conquest, assuming it was yet another mild domestic coupe. Inside, occupants found sporty bucket seats and a driver-focused cockpit with a host of gauges that monitored the turbo's activity, reinforcing the car's performance ambitions. On the move, the turbocharged engine displayed substantial torque, making the Conquest TSI surprisingly swift. The rear-wheel drive platform allowed for engaging handling, particularly notable in an era when front-wheel drive designs had become increasingly common. Enthusiasts frequently praised the car's balanced steering feel and the sense of confidence it provided in spirited driving scenarios. Though the Conquest TSI remains overshadowed by more famous turbocharged vehicles of the 1980s, its sleeper nature stems from its lack of broad public recognition and the subtlety of its styling cues. Many only discovered its true capabilities when it outperformed more established sports cars in real-world conditions. Today, the Conquest TSI's enthusiast following appreciates its rare blend of Japanese engineering and American badging, an understated gem that could surprise even the most perceptive driver. Number 3, the 1983 Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. Renowned for its long history of personal luxury coupes, the Ford Thunderbird evolved significantly during the 1980s. reaching an intriguing performance high point with the Turbo Coupe. Powered by a turbocharged 2.3-liter inline-4, this Thunderbird variant produced up to 190 horsepower by 1987, placing it in competition with V8-powered rivals while delivering better fuel efficiency. It struck an appealing balance between sporty handling and the comfort traditionally associated with the Thunderbird name. Aesthetically, the Turbo Coupe retained the basic Thunderbird silhouette, smooth, aerodynamic lines, and a luxurious two-door profile. However, Ford toned down any overt performance flair, preferring understated details such as subtle hood scoops or unique wheels. The interior followed suit, offering supportive seats and an array of gauges to monitor turbo boost, yet preserving the Thunderbird's spacious cabin and refined feel. This approach made it easy to underestimate the car's sporting capabilities. On the open road, the turbocharged engine shone. The adjustable suspension system enabled drivers to switch between ride comfort and firmer handling, while an available manual transmission heightened engagement for purists. With the turbo spooled, acceleration came on strong compared to many heavier V8 coupes of the time. Cornering felt confident, bolstered by firmer settings and well-tuned chassis dynamics that belied the car's relatively large footprint. The Thunderbird Turbo Coupe exemplified a sleeper in how it harmonized understated luxury with surprising performance. Observers more inclined to see it as a stylish cruiser than a serious contender in spotlight duels. In reality, the Turbo Coupe could hold its own against sportier cars, cementing its reputation among enthusiasts who desired a dual-purpose vehicle capable of both refined daily driving and spirited weekend runs. Today, it remains a noteworthy chapter in the Thunderbird saga, illustrating Ford's clever use of turbocharging to blend performance with panache. Number 2, the 1989 Ford Taurus SHO. Introduced in 1989, it stunned the automotive world by melding a staid midsize sedan body with genuinely robust performance. Its secret lay in the Yamaha-tuned 3-liter V6 engine that delivered a remarkable 220 horsepower, an impressive output for a family sedan of that era. With 0 to 60 times of around 6.6 seconds, the Taurus SHO could keep pace with more overtly sporty machines, all while wearing the same conservative suit as the standard Taurus models populating rental fleets and suburban driveways. Visually, the SHO distinction was subtle. The car sported slightly different body cladding, discreet badging, and a small rear spoiler. However, these flourishes were not so dramatic as to alert casual onlookers to the car's talent power. Inside, the Taurus SHO received bolstered seats, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, and specialized gauges, all catering to an enthusiast driver's desires without sacrificing the spaciousness and practicality characteristic of the Taurus line. On the road, the SHO's refined yet high-revving V6 delivered its power smoothly and urgently. The car's suspension, tuned more for agile handling than the standard Taurus, maintained composure in corners, offering a sharper response without severely compromising ride comfort. Combined with a standard 5-speed manual transmission, the SHO gave enthusiasts a high level of driver engagement, seldom found in family sedans at the time. This compelling mix of performance and everyday usability cemented the Taurus SHO's reputation as a true sleeper. Few would expect a mainstream Ford sedan, a fixture of the corporate and family car market, to demonstrate sports car-like capabilities. That surprise factor, paired with the SHO's refined engineering by Yamaha, has made the first-generation Taurus SHO an enduring icon. Even today, it serves as a blueprint for car makers seeking to produce stealth performance vehicles that defy conventional expectations of sedans. And at number 1, it's the 1989 Dodge Spirit RT. Topping many lists of the 1980 sleepers, this vehicle blended an unremarkable family sedan exterior with formidable turbocharged performance. Equipped with a special 2.2-liter dual overhead cam engine co-developed by Lotus, this turbocharged power plant generated an impressive 224 horsepower, placing the Spirit RT among the most potent four-door sedans of its time. Given that the base Spirit epitomized the sensible, boxy front-wheel drive sedan that families bought for practicality, The RT variant caught nearly everyone off guard. Visually, Dodge made minimal alterations. A modest front air dam, slightly more aggressive side skirts, and an RT badge set it apart from standard spirits. Yet, the car still looked decidedly generic in an era rife with bold design statements. The interior was similarly restrained, featuring comfortable seating, functional controls, and additional gauges to monitor the turbo's activity. However, the enhancements were subtle enough that most drivers glancing into the cabin might see just another Dodge sedan, exactly what made the RT so stealthy. Activating the turbocharged dual overhead cam engine revealed the car's true nature. Capable of sub-7 second 0 to 60 times, the Spirit RT could out-accelerate many established performance coupes. The suspension was beefed up to manage the extra power, offering better roll control and steering feedback than lesser Spirit models. While the front-wheel drive layout introduced some torque steer under hard acceleration, the overall package remained remarkably composed and rapid. This contrast between the RT's anonymous exterior and its exceptional drivetrain made it a definitive sleeper. It was the kind of vehicle that might line up next to a more ostentatious sports car and deliver an embarrassment to the unsuspecting driver. In hindsight, the Dodge Spirit RT stands not only as a high watermark for turbocharged performance sedans of the 1980s, but also as an enduring example of how a banal design can conceal extraordinary capabilities.